The Honest Money podcast is powered by 10x Investments, a licensed financial services provider. Consult with your financial advisor and let's 10x your future together.
Welcome to Honest Money. I'm Warren.
This is Pieter Villiers from Money Marks.
Today we're talking about what happens when you can't save anymore. You've cut your costs. You're at the bone. You've got a salary, but you're just at that point where you've been clever. You've been sensible with your budget. There's just not that much money that you can set aside for your savings and in your investment. And I think it's a real situation. A lot of people in that position.
Yeah. When we talked about how much you need to save a month in a previous episode, it's kind of the message we tried to get across is live below your means, meaning don't spend more than you earn and then save that difference. And usually what I would say the best place to start is to go through your expenses, maybe go track them a couple of months and go through the transactions, categorize them and see what am I actually spending and what am I spending on to get an idea of these are my spending habits. And then potentially you can look at that and say, some categories I could cut down. The ones that are important to me, I'll spend money on that because that's awesome. But the other ones, maybe I can apply some money saving hacks that I don't necessarily increase my standard of living. I'm just a bit more intentional on how I spend. So you can cut in expenses to a certain point. But then when you're at the bare bone of cutting down, we also don't want you to become miserable and not enjoy life because then it really becomes tough to keep with a plan. So saving money and cutting expenses is one way to do it. And it's important because I think we all need to be conscious, follow a conscious spending plan. I don't always refer to it as a budget. I like more as a spending plan because you're spending on what's important to you. But then you might find even doing that, sure, I'm still not getting to that 15%. So what are the options then? It's kind of the flip side is increasing your income. And that's what we're going to cover today. Yeah,
and I think maybe we're gonna have to touch on a few things because there is one in your, let's say, in your actual career, if you're in a career already, how you increase your earning power yourself. How do you make yourself more valuable to people who are paying you an income? And then if that's not necessarily an option, what else can you do with your time or your expertise that's not going to get you into trouble with your employers? Because that's important. You've got to do things, in your off time and not, that are not in conflict at all. But we're going to be talking about then side hustles and the like. Because one thing we need to know in this day and age is, optionality is huge. Like the ability to use your time to learn a new skill, to do something is there. And equally the ability to use what's available to you from an education point of view to make yourself more valuable to employers is also there. So I think maybe the one thing I want to say is this is not a hopeless situation.
Yeah.
It takes time, effort, maybe a bit of discipline and a bit of direction, but don't throw in the towel and say, oh, this is it, this is life. Anybody can earn a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, if we kind of boil it down to how do we earn money, it's the combination of value, skills, and time and expertise that you offer to society, and you get paid rands or dollars for that value that you add. The only way to really increase your income is to increase your income earning ability, which means you need to upskill yourself. That may mean studying a degree is one option, doing short courses, getting experience. You can't expect to step into the workplace as a new guy and earning top salary. You have to go through a phase of learning from those above you and to get those soft skills. And asking for a raise is good, but you also need to come prepared to why do I deserve a raise? You can maybe go and track your performance the last 6 months. What did you add to the company? What new projects did you launch? What is your attitude at work every day? Are you someone that's very empowering, motivating others? So start thinking about that you come prepared with maybe a resume of reasons why you think you should deserve a raise, and then having an open discussion around that and not just expecting it's going to happen just because you ask for it, because times are tough. So if you are in a fortunate position to be employed, that is one direction. We know the reality in South Africa is much more dire. I'm not sure exactly the statistics, but the unemployment rate is hovering around 40%, I believe. So that is quite a massive reality for many people listening. So what do you think for those type of people? What options do they have, this part of the population?
I'm going to come to that now, but I just want to say on the first thing, I am a shareholder of a business, and I can't tell you how many times I've looked at especially a younger person walking and saying, I need more money. And I'm not saying that's not true. That might well be true, but don't sit in front of your boss and say, I need more money, and think that that's the reason they're going to give you more money. You should have the case that you are more valuable than you were a year ago to the business and generating more value for the business. I'm not saying it's a sheer revenue generator, but that you generate more value. And if you're not, then don't be surprised if they say, well, tough luck. Times, as you said, times are difficult. And so you're not entitled to more money.
Yeah.
You earn more money. You become more valuable. If you've got an employer that can't see your value, that's a difference.
Yeah.
But don't just demand it and say, well, I asked the question, I should have got it. That's never the case. So maybe what do people do to make themselves money that's not related to their work? I mean, the universe of options is nearly infinite. I think it's about stopping to say, what is it that I can do? So, for example, if you've got a car and you've got weekends and you've got evenings, I mean, you can Uber. You can be a delivery driver. You can do things just with that maybe get you ahead. If you don't have that, I'll tell you a story. I was caught on a radio show live once where the host said, we're going to challenge 5 people to start a business with 1,000 Rand, and we want to see how much money they can make with that 1,000 Rand over, I think it was 3 months. Now, I was running a business, writing books, busy. So what I did was I phoned my mother-in-law and I said, you're retired. I know you don't have a lot of business skills, but one thing I know is you can cook. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 1,000 Rand. You're going to buy ingredients and you're going to start Granny's Good Foods. And she just made meals and we sold them to our friends who had no time and were looking for like a nice homemade meal. And I think we ended up making quite a lot of money out of that years ago. That's nothing required other than a bit of time, bit of knowledge. And nowadays online, you can learn to cook pretty quick if you can't. I'm not sure you can find a kitchen online, but gee, you can do quite a bit already. So using what you've got to generate some kind of an income on the side is not that difficult. Nowadays, I mean, I can see them. I'm sure you see them online where people like offer me the opportunity to read English, for AI engines to help them learn. You're lucky you can earn $12 an hour, which is great if you're earning nothing. That's amazing. But there are always options to make yourself available to teach, to make yourself available to be a part-time help to people who have time. Have money and no time. Making yourself available in that situation, is important. So I think it's actually a bit of lack of imagination rather than anything else. If you think that you can't do anything, I heard the story of a lady who sits at a taxi rank and she sells parcels of toilet paper to people that are looking for toilet paper outside the public loos because there are no loos. There's no toilet paper in those loos. She's making apparently somewhere around 12,500 to 20,000 Rand a month selling portions of toilet rolls.
Oh.
That it didn't cost her a lot to buy the toilet rolls.
Yeah.
Just a bit of imagination. And yes, you've got to get up and go. And look at all those ladies that sell Fat Cook on the side of the roads. There are options to use your time, a little bit of money to make some extra income. And it can be real.
Yeah, for sure. And I think where you need to start is just do a little bit of introspection. What am I good at? We all have different skills, different interests that we've kind of molded into what we want to do. Reflect on that. Firstly, what am I interested in doing? Am I good at that? If you're at the braai or at a family gathering, what is the thing that people always come to ask you about? What is that one topic that you consider the expert? Because that's a good start. That already shows you that you've got some knowledge or skills in a certain subject that you can now try and monetize. With the internet now, if you have a phone, access to internet, whether that's the Wi-Fi of McDonald's, that's fine. You can start building an online presence. And you don't have to be an expert in anything to do that. I've seen people just kind of recording themselves doing their day-to-day stuff, and then they build a following. And if you have a following, you've got leverage because now you've got attention. I think attention is the new currency. It's not rands or dollars, it's attention. And companies see that, and then maybe you have someone reaching out to you that wants you to be a sponsor for their products that you can now start earning revenue. platforms like TikTok is really now popping off with even creators in the US. They earn money from the ads that plays on the platform. South Africa, we're not there yet, but YouTube you can. So it's thinking about that. And I like what you said, that don't limit yourself to your circumstances, because there's opportunities everywhere. If you kind of switch your mindset from, this is the reality and I'm always going to be in this box, then you're going to limit yourself. But if you start seeing the problems as opportunities, provide solutions to those opportunities, you'll find someone that will pay. It's all about convenience. If you can package something, a need, a problem, turn that into a need and package it in a convenient way, someone will pay for it. Your case, your story, case in point, the lady sold toilet paper because that was a need at that point. Someone needs toilet paper now, and they will pay more than going to ShopRite to buy a roll because it's now needed. So seeing that opportunity and combining that with your skills and your interests, there are multiple ways to make money. You just have to be a bit creative, and you need to be willing to put in the hard work, and don't give up if it fails the first time, because it's going to fail. You have to continuously try and try and try. And people have risen above their circumstances many times just by having that sheer drive to rise above it.
Yeah, and maybe just back to people in their careers. Like if you're sitting there just saying, well, Mark, I'm limited and this is all I can do. Well, if you say that, that's the truth. You've just made it a reality. Yeah. I think your point there is really important. But equally, maybe also for younger people, it's interesting to watch younger people coming into the work environment, because some people grab every opportunity to take some responsibility and deliver as hard as they can on whatever the task is that they can do. Then you watch other people who arrive in the job and they've done well, they've got big degrees, they did incredibly well, and they feel this job is a bit below them. And so they do a lousy job at the job they were given. So all they're proving to their bosses is that they're not capable.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that as well. It doesn't actually matter what the job is that you've got. If you're earning a salary, if you're being paid a salary, make sure you do that job incredibly well. Because I mean, there are so many stories of people that arrive in a position where they're just is the wrong word. They're a receptionist, but they do that job incredibly well with a big smile, etc., etc. And watch how their careers progress, because they do that job to the best of their ability. They engage with people in a positive way, and they're constructive, and so people give them opportunities. If you're sitting there unhappy, like bleak, because you think this is beneath you, that's where you're going to stay. And then you're going to blame everyone else except yourself. And yes, there are times when you work for a lousy boss, or the company's lousy, or whatever, the economy's lousy, and circumstances hit you, and that's fine. But the people who bounce from those are the people with the right attitude, that have been positive, that have been engaging to those around them. If you're not that, you are limiting your circumstances, and your mental approach to this is really important. Just understanding you're working in a job that's menial. Let's say you think, you're a security guard and you think that's a lousy job. What you've got is a phenomenal amount of time. You can study while you're being paid to work, and actually kind of become a professional student in a way, and you can change your circumstances. You don't have to do a degree. You can do a course and add a new skill and find ways to do things. I mean, I'm not saying like this is a motivational speech where, yes, everything's possible for everybody. Phenomenally successful people in the world were also incredibly lucky. They worked hard. They were in the right place at the right time, but they also had an attitude. And so, one thing you can control is your attitude to whatever it is that you're doing. And if your attitude is lousy, well, I'm sorry, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah. And I think luck is an important thing, because many times people will say, yeah, that guy just got lucky. Good for him. Might be paraphrasing wrongly, but I believe Gary Player said that the more you practice, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
The more you are put yourself in a position where you deliver exceptional value, way past the expectations that were given to you, there might just be a specific day where you say the right thing to the right person that opens up an opportunity, because you never know. Let's use the receptionist example. You never know who's going to walk through the door to whatever business you run. Maybe that's someone that has an opportunity for you outside of that specific work environment, and you've just made their day in some sense. And they think about you next time they think about the opportunity. So you'll be amazed how many opportunities opens up when your mindset is in the right place. Do not view problems as kind of, now I'm a victim of circumstance, but rather as opportunities to grow and just give it your all every day, which is tough. It's not like it's going to suddenly work for everyone, but you have to make that mind shift to have that desire to rise above it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, I worked in a company a long time ago where the company employed a lot of drivers, and then technology changed, and you didn't need to move physical documents from A to B in a short space of time. And so it was traumatic for those drivers, because almost within a 2 or 3 year period, there was no need for what they did. And watching out of those drivers who were retained in the business and who were let go. I mean, by rights, the company could let them all go. I'm not saying on a human level, but on a legal level, their positions were redundant. But it was interesting that some of them were retained and retrained into filing clerks, and some of them progressed dramatically. Why? Because what was the difference? I mean, they were all drivers. They were all doing the same job. But some of them did it with a phenomenal attitude, and some of them did it with a terrible attitude. The guys with terrible attitude just weren't there anymore. Guys with a phenomenal attitude were retained and actually invested in. And that applies everywhere. You know, you can't, I mean, the number of stories of people that were, you know, kind of domestic workers that became, you know, business owners. Why? Because they started with a phenomenal attitude and did the job that they were given to the best of their ability. And then people want to support and back you. And Gary Player's right. You know, the more you practice, the luckier you get. You've got to practice at being, you know, approachable and investable, if you want. And investable might not be money; it might be time. People believe in you and support you.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're still young, you know, you might not have the necessary skills or experience for a certain role, but if your attitude is in the right place, skills can be taught, experience can be gained, attitude cannot be changed. If that's something you have to inherently change yourself. Someone can't teach you to have a attitude. Maybe they can inspire you or they can guide you. That's true. But you can be placed in a new environment where you don't know much. But if your attitude is in the right place, all of those things can be taught. And I think maybe you'd know better in your position with having gone through the hiring process. Is that something, if you look at let's say a new candidate for a position, what are the main factors that you think, or which factors weigh more than others in that situation?
I mean, you know, you want to look through the BS, you know, people that, you know, that sit down and try and impress you with a story and try and put on a face about, you know, phenomenal skills that it's impossible that they would have, you know, and so they project. I mean, you obviously want to put your best foot forward when you're in an interview and the like, but also you want to be authentic and a level of humility, you know, understanding your flaws as well as your strengths. Because it's impossible that every single candidate that walks through the door is perfect. And every person on the other side of that interview knows that you're not perfect. What we want to know is, what are you good at and what do you need to work on, and what are the things we should be careful of? And so, you know, to me, attitude, you know, often distinguishes the people we retain from those we don't. I rarely, it sounds funny to say that, and my colleagues might be upset with me, but I rarely employ the very best academic, because they're not used to a bit of failure. You know, they arrive their whole lives through the whole of school, the whole of university. They've been number 1 or number 2. They've done incredibly well. They might be a little bit arrogant because they've just never failed. That's not true for all of them. But also they haven't been hit on the nose and they haven't learned how to stand up. So I want to see a bit of resilience. I want to see that someone knows that life isn't easy. You know, especially people that have had a tough background growing up. You know, they're rising above their circumstances with a good attitude. Those are people I really want. You know, someone who's just cruised through life. You know, they might have a great attitude anyway, and then, you know, by all means I'll look at them. But they probably get a harder time from me than the people that have struggled and have risen despite the circumstances and have been hit and managed to get up again. And so resilience and a great attitude, I think, is key. You know, if you're one of those people that's naturally pessimistic and just think, you know, the world's going to end tomorrow, and you do that for life, it's kind of hard to be around people like that all the time. You know, I don't want someone that's draining my energy all the time. I want someone that's at least neutral, but ideally a little bit sunny and a little bit, you know, positive and a little bit happy.
Yeah, and then finding the pleasures in the small things and trying to lift the mood. I also agree. It's much better working in an environment, someone like that maybe they're lacking on skills and experience, but that will be gained over time. At least they bring energy to the team and they help lift everyone up. Maybe you are someone that has had a tough time growing up. You know, money was tight. You didn't get the opportunity to go to school, or even if you did, your marks weren't the best. You weren't top of your class. That's absolutely fine, because after school, everything changes. Some people that did the best at school level, maybe they'll get degrees, good on them. But just because of your past, don't let that define you, because you can define your future based on your attitude mostly and your ability to see opportunities in problems and to work hard. I think that's always also going to be an important component, because attitude without hard work is just kind of a dream. It's the ideal that may happen, but you have to make it happen as well, and you have to go down into the trenches to get out again.
I think that's well put again, Pieter. I think we're out of time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Warren.
Pieter?
Thank you so much.
The Stradivarius violin is considered to be the most emotive instrument in the world. That's why you'll often hear it in investment ads, adding drama and the utmost importance to their philosophies, or for the announcement of a fancy new fund manager. 10x investments don't need dramatic instruments to seem impressive. They let the results sing for themselves. So 10x your future without the drama. 10x is a licensed FSP.